Okay, guys, we are seeing an insane amount of reality hatred coming from the left as the election is approaching and the necessity to lie en masse is being emphasized. We're seeing a complete disconnect from the objective parameters of reality, but unfortunately, this includes the dehumanization because to the left, you are only a good person if you are a part of their cult of lies. And I'm going to be showing you a lot of the slander that's been going on, but also the blatant and public, unabashed instances of just total mental brokenness and insanity, because it's very interesting. So we're going to start, I think, with this video just because it's so hilarious. We have two old women, literally post-wall women. If you were to say, okay, who's going to get upset with a man giving a speech that's empowering to women, saying that you can choose what you want to do. You can become a mother. You can, follow your career, but you're going to be more fulfilled if you're a mother. And we know from psychological data that that's true. Who's going to be the people you think that are going to be the most upset at that? And then you find a video of old, ugly, post-wall women who are single and childless having a podcast together, calling a guy that is at the pinnacle of masculine competence hierarchies, multiple-time Super Bowl winner in the NFL, a loser, attacking his masculinity, etc. But it's actually worse than that. I mean, we've been seeing this the past several days. I thought that I would just record one video about this, but it's continuing like a week later. Women really, really got destroyed by a guy with a perfectly trimmed beard telling them they're going to be happy as a result of being mothers. They couldn't handle it because a week later we're still seeing this stuff. And it's not just the women. We have destroyed soy men as well. And I'm going to show you guys, we literally have fat, like self-evidently loser men. This is, I mean, it doesn't get more cringe than this, right? Like we have a fat man, a fat short man, calling an NFL superstar a little bitch, and then lying about what he said in a speech that is public. I think that I'm convinced 95% of the people that are enraged couldn't even watch the entire speech because it's very painful for a leftist to engage with any type of objective reality. They live in the fever dream of their own resentment. But this divorce from reality is becoming dangerous when we see the blatant dehumanization of people. I played the full speech of Harrison Butker's speech in the last video where I pointed out, actually a lot of young, hot, feminine women in Florida and Miami on the Fresh and Fit podcast have no problem with what he said because they played the full speech for them and then they asked them, do you agree with this, etc., and they all agreed. But the old, ugly women can't handle it for some reason.
The kicker for the Kansas City.
Look how angry she is. You can see the resentment on her face.
The kicker
But in between the plastic surgery that's like bulging out of her facial structure.
For the Kansas City Chiefs, who has got to be the most sexist, white supremacist dick.
Okay, I obviously everyone's laughing at her, right? If you go to the comments, everyone is brutally mocking her. She's getting reposted by accounts that are just dragging her, obviously, and it's brutal. But the reason I'm showing you this is so that you can understand there are deranged people that are dehumanizing any person that believes basic things about reality. And this is the equivalent of saying the earth is spherical, right? And then somebody saying you are a white supremacist. He literally said that the most amount of meaning that will come from a woman's life stems from her family. And that is objectively true. That is statistically borne out by psychological data. And what's funny is the most miserable sect of the population are single childless women that are post-wall like this. And you see them demonizing masculinity. But men don't do this. Men don't demonize femininity. Old, destroyed women demonize masculinity. And in fact, the number of men that actually hate femininity are so few, they're endlessly mocked by men and women. But for some reason, women don't have the courage to mock this. Blatantly lying, blatantly trying to pervert and bastardize masculinity. You see it here, you see it everywhere, just women literally obsessed. They can't stop talking about it. But it's because masculinity is a sophisticated apparatus that reflects objective reality itself. Because in order for a man to create things and to become impressive, he has to adapt to objective reality. Women don't do this, and this is the reason why women, they don't have the necessity, they don't have the burden to, they're not required to interface with objective reality. And so that's the reason why nobody cares if a woman is seemingly impressive, because she didn't have to become impressive. And also, on average, men accomplish much more. Look at how unable to cope with reality these destroyed women are. I wish Jordan Peterson would analyze videos like this. Seriously. The right needs to confront this, and we have to permanently shame people like this.
Ever seen in my life. Watch this.
I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
What type of anti-civilizational ideology bastardizes and demonizes the idea and importance of having children? Seriously, I mean, the fact that we have women in a first world country that look like this,
Who have
right?
had them
Losing their mind, just completely freaking out, that a man at the top of a competence hierarchy is telling women that they will enjoy having children. It's not just the statement that you'll enjoy having kids. It's the statement that he gets to live in objective reality, and that objective reality judges them for their inadequacy. That infuriates them, because leftists can't abide in being judged by objective frameworks. It invalidates their entire philosophy, because postmodernism, as it conjoins with Marxism, says there's no better and worse ways of interpreting reality. And so when they get reminded constantly, this is the reason why they're resentful all the time, because as they're reminded constantly that they deny objective aspects of reality, like when they say men are toxic, or women shouldn't have kids, or men can get pregnant, take your pick of lies, reality reminds them that they're wrong, and then they get resentful.
that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
It takes less than 20 seconds, less than 30 seconds to have a conversation with a woman that is upset about something he said, and then it becomes immediately obvious that their position is 100% incoherent. Oh, but it was offensive. Why? He's objectively correct. This is based purely in the psychopathology of feminist degeneracy.
I fucking hate him.
I didn't expect that.
I hate him.
Dude, look at this. What is this? What are we looking at right here? It's like a humanitarian crisis. We have old, destroyed women, so mentally ravaged by the left-wing ideology and by feminism, they're basically unrecoverable. I think if they underwent like 10 hours of psychotherapy every single day, they still might be beyond help, seriously. Oh, but masculinity's toxic because it's a representation of objective parameters that judge me involuntarily. He said literal truth. He just spoke reality. But I think part of the venom that we're seeing from the left, the discombobulated, deranged, incoherent hate, is as a result of the fact that we're no longer afraid to point out that they're insane freak shows. Before they could ban us on Twitter, right? In collusion with the federal government, in violation of the First Amendment. But now they can't do that because a masculine billionaire that is at the pinnacle of competence is preventing them from doing that. Funny how that always works out like that. So anyway, they're ultimately triggered. No. Trigger doesn't cover it. They are unfathomably furious that you can resist them. Know that you're a good person. Act as though you're a good person. People believe you, and you call them out as frauds as a result of doing all of that, because there's no recourse for them. They can't make coherent arguments because they've demonized and bastardized logic and reason and rationality as oppression and patriarchal. So they have no recourse. They can only call you a bad person, and when that's not working, they become more unhinged and deranged. And that's what you're seeing here. This has been going on for close to a week now. It's almost been a week since he made his comments, since he made that speech, right? And feminists still haven't mentally been able to parse what's been going on.
It's unbelievable that at a time, this last
Here you're going to see the narcissism.
football cycle, where all of these women are attracted to the NFL because of Taylor Swift.
NFL was being made by Taylor Swift. Who do they think they are?
And here's this incredibly successful woman, Taylor Swift, that has this...
Taylor Swift is not successful. As a woman, she's a failure. And she admitted in one of her songs and publicly in interviews that she lost a decade of her life dating a man that she shouldn't have been dating. And she's rightfully upset about that. But she wasted her 20s.
Amazing work ethic. And then I forget that this type of person exists everywhere.
They're talking about, they said, this type of person as if it's some sort of animal, deplorable. Anything that doesn't align with this ravenous, destroyed, hyper-resentful, degenerate feminine psyche that these women occupy is abhorrent and untenable, intolerable. It's beyond their imagination. Where they belong in a psych ward. But instead, the left-wing ideology preys upon them. It says that resentment you have for all the wrong choices you've made, the reason why you're old, post-war with no husband and children, yeah, we're going to say that it's men's fault. Also, the idea that this is somehow the exception, that men that agree with basic facts like women enjoy having children are the exception, when they are literally the fringe case. Most women agree with Harrison's statements, as I demonstrated from that Fresh and Fit video. And as we know, obviously, most women are not single and childless and destroyed. Many of them have been made victims by the feminist ideology into becoming that fate. But these women are the freak minority case. And every time you see one of these Anon accounts, it's always either an Anon account or an old post-wall woman who's single and childless, oftentimes she's alcoholic, or a destroyed, fat, short, beta freak male who's failed to compete in masculine competence hierarchies and is unilaterally scorned by all impressive men. The freaks of society can't stand objective reality, and they are on the left.
And this is evangelical Christianity. What he said is so disrespectful.
So here it starts to become demonic, right? Because then they turn their utterly resentful insanity and reality denial towards Christianity, which is very interesting.
So to such a large...
Because if you think about it, Christianity is the largest apparatus for accountability that exists in the nation. It's the greatest source of objective morality that exists because it built the civilization that these women involuntarily exist in. And so they're raging against that which holds them accountable, and inevitably that takes them to Christianity.
Portion of women, and it's so dismissive. I hope that
you should have been dismissed when you were 25 years old so that you were saved from this horrible, deformed fate of being a resentful woman with plastic surgery, single and childless, hating men on a podcast with a woman that's somehow even uglier than you are.
He is canceled to hell and back. And
Bro, this is crazy. You see the admission, the acknowledgement. I didn't see this part of the video before. You see the acknowledgement that they desire left-wing authoritarianism at the end of this video. They don't make any arguments. They only demonize. They're thoroughly disconnected from reality. They're thoroughly disconnected from morality. And at the end, they endorse left-wing authoritarianism. I hope he loses his person status. He gets canceled. He gets taught a lesson, because if reality was made in the image of this feminine psychopathology, this degenerate reality hatred, it would be left-wing authoritarianism. This is the reason why proclivity to abide in left-wing tyrannies is positively correlated with a feminine temperament and low verbal IQ. It's exactly what you're seeing here.
I hope that he is canceled to hell and back.
Bro, I'm telling you everything that's true, and then they just confirm it and admit it. What did I say at the beginning of this video? They're ultimately furious. You can disagree with them, and there's no consequences because they can't argue, they can't use logic and reason and rationality because those are discriminatory, oppressive mechanisms. Then they admit it. I tell you, the degenerate feminist personality is fundamentally anti-humanity, anti-reality, anti-morality, and pro-left-wing authoritarianism, and then they confirm it. The demonization of people that disagree with radical left doesn't stop there, of course. We have radical leftists on X saying that people who display American flags. So remember the term she used, white supremacist here? According to this leftist, people who display American flags are domestic terrorists. This person has 100,000 followers on X, but they are currently trying to dehumanize us. They are currently trying to say any person that is not a part of the radical left is not a person. This is how atrocities happened and were not opposed in the 1940s in Germany. This is far more dangerous and evil, though, because while they are trying to while they are dehumanizing us, while they are saying the opposite of the truth, while they're openly resentful of reality itself, they are being bombarded by people telling them that they're wrong, by explaining to them that they're wrong, using logic and rationality and reason. Basically, people utilizing their free speech to correct them in real time. That wasn't happening in Germany. You couldn't run counter narratives. There was no internet. The newspapers were controlled, etc. But Twitter is free. And despite the fact that they're being confronted and exposed and ridiculed and scorned and mocked as being evil, low IQ, psychopathic, narcissistic, pro-totalitarian communists, they continue. So in many ways, this is far more reprehensible. And yet they continue down this path of dehumanization. And so I think that this is actually much more reprehensible. This ideology, as it's manifesting in people calling themselves good people while being the most evil humans on the face of the planet, it's actually the most reprehensible manifestation of ideology the world has possibly ever seen. And if it weren't for the Second Amendment, if it weren't for half the country literally opposing them on the grounds of morality itself, objective frameworks itself, reason itself, these people would already be committing atrocities. The United States is already in the middle of a civil war. We have people who believe men can get pregnant. We have people that will dedicate themselves to the opposite of the truth and saying the opposite of objective reality just because they are so at war with objective frameworks. To them, people that proudly display the American flag are domestic terrorists. To them, people who say women derive the most amount of meaning and happiness from their lives by having children are white supremacists. We're living with people who hate reality and have no model for coexistence. And what I've shown you here is just a microcosm. Two examples that are a microcosm of what you're seeing propagated daily. The left is fundamentally anti-humanity.